so easy to look up a word on the internet, I'd got rid of my hard copies of dictionaries, and I do like looking through the dictionary. So as well as that, I am going to chew some gum, because I know that lots of you find it relaxing to listen to gum being chewed as well. sense of the strange and often unpredictable ways in which words seem to behave. Origins. English belongs to the Indo-European family of languages, a vast group with many branches, thought to be derived from a common ancestor, language called Proto-Indo-European. The words we use in English are derived from a wide range of sources, mostly within this family. The earliest sources are Germanic, Norse and Romanic. More recently, with the growth and decline of the British Empire and the rapid development of communications, they have been worldwide. It is difficult to be sure exactly what we mean by an English word. Most obviously, words are English if they can be traced back to the Germanic language of the Anglo-Saxons, who settled in Britain from the 5th century. From this time are derived many common words such as eat, drink, speak, work, house, door, man, woman, husband, wife. The Anglo-Saxons displaced the Celtic peoples, whose speech survives in Scottish and Irish, Gaelic, Welsh, Manx and Cornish. Little Celtic influence remains in English, except in names of places and rivers. Anglo-Saxon Britain continued to have contact with the Roman Empire, of which Britain had formerly been a part, and with Latin, which was the official language throughout the empire and survived as a language of ritual, and for a time also of learning and communication in the Western Christian Church. After the mission of St. Augustine in AD 597, the Christianized Anglo-Saxons built churches and monasteries. There were considerable advances in art and learning. At this time, English was enriched by many words from Latin, some of which are still in use, such as angel, disciple, martyr and shrine. Other words were derived putting sounds into writing or reflecting in each. The different grammatical characteristics of each element can be seen in the structure and endings of many words. Many of the variable endings, such as and ent, and or, able and ible, exist because the Latin words on which they are based belong to different classes of verbs and nouns, each of which had a different ending. For example, important comes from the Latin verb portar, meaning to carry, which belongs to one class or conjugation, while repellent comes from the Latin verb pellere, meaning to drive, which belongs to another. Capable comes from a Latin word ending in abilis, while sensible comes from one ending in ibilis, and so on. Middle English. Middle English, as the English of circa 1100 to 1500 is called, emerged as the spoken and written form of the language under these influences. By the reign of Henry II, 1154 to 89, many of the aristocracy spoke English, and the use of French diminished, especially after King John, 1109 to 1216, lost possession of Normandy in 1204. Many Anglo-Saxon words had disappeared altogether. For example, Niman was replaced by the Old Norse Scandinavian Taka, meaning take, and the Old English siege was replaced by a word derived from Old French meaning victory. Other Old English words that disappeared are adel, disease, love, praise, and lift, compare German Luft. Hundreds of the Romance words were short, simple words that would now be distinguished with difficulty from the Old English words if their origin were not known. For example, bar, cry, fool, mean, pity, stuff, touch, and tender. Sometimes new and old words continued in use side by side, in some cases on a roughly equal footing, and in others with a distinction in meaning, as with doom and judgment and stench and smell. This has produced pairs of words which are both in use today, such as shut and close, and buy and purchase, in which the second word of each pair is Romance in origin, and often more formal in connotation. This mixture of types of words is a feature especially of modern English. For many meanings we now have a choice of less formal or more formal words, the more formal ones in some cases being used only in very specific circumstances. For example, the word vendor is used instead of seller only in the context of buying or selling property. Many technical words derived from, or ultimately from Latin, such as, can't see that, estop and assumption, survive only in legal contexts, to the great confusion of the layman. I might finish that little bit in another video, actually, it's quite interesting. separate compositions, an agreement, accordance, harmony, a combination of voices or sounds, acting jointly and accordantly, that's in concert. Concilia, of or concerning a council, especially an ecclesiastical council. Medieval Latin is conciliaris, counsellor. Confectioner, a maker or retailer of confectionery. Confectioner's custard, a thick, sweet custard used as a filling for cakes and pastries. Confederacy, a language or alliance, especially of confederate status. A league for an unlawful or evil purpose, a conspiracy. The condition or fact of being a confederate, alliance, conspiracy, sorry. Congruous, suitable, agreeing, fitting. Conjecture, the formation of an opinion on incomplete information, guessing, an opinion or conclusion reached in this way. Consciousness, the state of being conscious. Awareness, perception. Awareness of the totality of a person's thoughts, feelings and sensations, or of a class of these. Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Singapore, Solomon Islands, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Swaziland, Tanzania, Tonga, Trinidad and Tobago, Tuvalu, Uganda, United Kingdom, Vanuatu, Western Samoa, Zambia and Zimbabwe. Canada, Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories and the Yukon Territory. Australia, New South Wales, Northern Territory, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, Western Australia, Australian Capital Territory. India, Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Goa, Gujarat, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Orissa, Punjab, Rajasthan, Sikkim, Tamil Nadu, Tripura, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Chandigarh, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman Diu, Delhi, Lakshadweep and Pondicherry. And apologies if any of those were mispronounced.